Good morning, everybody. Dear Rector, professors, colleagues, and guests. Good morning and welcome to the 6th International Applied Social Science Congress organized by CESUS platform in collaboration with University of Malta, ASEM Moldova, and Kavram Vocational High School. Izmir Kavram Vocational High School. I'm so happy to inform you that this year we have participants from 5 continents and 30 different countries, which a total of the 114 academic paper presentations in the International Congress and 11 academic papers in the National Conference. The theme of the CESUS 2022 is Children, Animals, and Nature, so we can. By we can, we meant sustainability of a future livelihood for our children, animals, and nature. Hope you have a fruitful and successful conference. With no further ado, I would like to introduce the keynote speakers, Professor Dr. Simon Grima from University of Malta, Professor Dr. Eleftherios Thalassinos from University of Piraeus, Greece, Professor Dr. Larissa Mistran from ASEM Moldova, and Paolo Anselmi, University of Rome, for Vergata, Italy. We thank to all participants, and besides special thanks to Professor Dr. Alexandru Stratan, Rector of ASEM Moldova, and Professor Dr. Darman Küçükaltan, and his kind team members. Thank you very much. And now I think Professor Stratan is ready. This professor. Dear Alexandru.
Yeah, good morning, good morning.
Okay, we are ready to hear you.
Yeah, just trying to adjust my sound. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Ercan. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Rector, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, good morning to everyone. From the very beginning, of course, on behalf of the scientific community of our university, the University of Economic Studies of Moldova, ASEM, please allow me to warmly greet you, to warmly greet all the participants of the International Applied Sciences Congress, and bring sincere thanks, first of all, to USHAC, to the host university, and for all our participants and co-organizers of this wonderful event and prestigious scientific forum. Thank you for your efforts by bringing us together, either virtually or offline. It's very necessary and it's very important that our contribution of scientists is of help for the society and for the decision making factors as well. Because first of all, it's about the fact that we are able to organize discussions and the debate, probably the most essential and the most important applied social sciences issues at the national, the regional, and of course at the global level, as well as the validation of our findings, of our research results, because as I know, there are many research projects implemented in our universities. There are many cooperation and collaborations implemented and done together by our joint efforts, the efforts of our professors and researchers. And it is very important to have these opportunities to this platform validate this and to test a little bit our preliminary results and research studies. So this is very important, and thank you very much for bringing this platform in this 2022 edition. And this is to mention also that the United Nations organizations has proclaimed the year of 2022 the year of basic fundamental sciences. And this is very important because we now are trying probably to make a link between the basic research and the applied sciences that are very important for the development of our economy. And when we speak about the development of our economy, our economies, national economies, regional economies, of course, dear audience, we have to reiterate once again that knowledge has been an important factor in intercultural and economic development. However, only in recent times, the tools with which knowledge is created and applied changed cardinally. Consequently, the economy has been transformed into a knowledge-based economy and productive processes, into production based on innovations, which involve the use of knowledge embedded in technologies, know-how, new organizational and management structures. For sure, for anyone, it is no longer an enigma that currently the successful development of any society, the successful development of any country can take place only on the basis of knowledge. An additional proof is that most of the European Union's strategic programs until 2027, including the one to support agriculture sector that in the 90s consumed half of the total EU budget, have been reduced, and only the research and innovation program, so Horizon Europe, was increased to almost 1 billion euros. So this is an additional proof why science, research, and the development in this area has to be promoted and supported. Thus, the development of the EU economies will continue probably also to be based on smart growth, and of course, we as a small country, the Republic of Moldova, we support this economic paradigm, this approach. The ASEM University also is striving in this context to collaborate with many research centers, universities, and an example is the USHAC University to collaborate and to try to go more deeply and more broadly, to have more and more beneficiaries from the central public administration to the local administration, so that they later are able to adopt correct and scientifically reasoned decisions. Of course, probably the need in us, the researchers, is very actual nowadays, because unfortunately the imminent constraints for the economic development of our countries have our countries have been passing through recently, and I would like to mention here the pandemic constraints, then this energetic crisis constraints, the insecurity in the region also bring us constraints, and for instance, Moldovan economy has been affected very much by the insecurity and by the war in the region, because we are a country located at the border of the war between Russia and Ukraine. So probably we have to be now more active also to try to implement and to bring the results, the scientific results, as well as to help our countries, our authorities to implement the proper economic mechanisms in all the spheres, so that the life of the people, the standards of life go high. This is why I again would like to bring many thanks to the organizers, to salute all the participants, and to wish you very good, productive discussions, exchange of experience, validation of the results, and fruitful cross-cutting discussions in the sphere of applied sciences, because the interdisciplinarity now is on the first place, and we would like that every platform, every conference is an additional tool for us to develop and to bring our level of development to a further level and to a further high standard. Thank you very much. Wishing you good, productive again discussions during the conference. I would like to bring again the warmest greetings from the community, scientific community of the University of Economic Studies of Moldova, ICM, which is a reliable partner for you, and we wish to be and to promote this platform also for further and future editions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Interpreter speaking. Çevirmen konuşuyor. Bayanlar, baylar, değerli rektörler, meslektaşlarım, çok teşekkür ederim. Moldova Asamble Üniversitesi olarak, Uşak Üniversitesi olarak ve diğer katılımcıların katkılarıyla bana da verilen bu fırsat için çok teşekkür ederim. Bu bilimsel kongrenin organizasyonunda yer alan herkese çok teşekkür ederim. Bu ve bunun benzeri kongrelerde hem ulusal hem uluslararası projeler üretiyor. Üniversitelerin işbirliği yapabilmeleri açısından son derece iyi ilişkiler geliştiriliyor. Daha sonra Birleşmiş Milletler programın ya da bu Siyasız Kongresi'nin Birleşmiş Milletler Avrupa Birliği Stratejik Programı Horizon Group ile ilgili konularına değindi. Ve dünyada pek çok aslında sorunun yaşandığını anlattı. Pandeminin getirdiği kısıtlamalar olsun, enerji krizi var, Rusya sınırında olanlar, olup bitenler. Ancak bu ve bunun gibi pek çok soruna bu kongrelerin yanıt bulunması, çözüm bulunmasının açısından bu oturumların son derece verimli katkıları topluma, uluslararası topluma ve yerel toplumlara katkısı olacağına inanıyorum.
Teşekkürler. O zaman bir Doktor Pınar Akbukay, please.
Merhabalar, ben İzmir Kavram Meslek Okulu Müdür Yardımcısı Pınar Kokay. Üçüncüsü düzenlenen Uluslararası Uygulamalı Sosyal Bilimler Kongresi'nde sizlere ev sahipliği yapmaktan çok mutluyuz. Umarım güzel bir kongre geçiririz. Teşekkür ediyorum.
Hello. Hello, I'm Deputy Manager of İzmir Kavram Meslek Yüksekokulu Pınar Akbukay. I'm so happy to be hosted this fruitful international congress, CIASOS. No. Oh, sorry. Now, I invite our keynote speaker to speak in this session, Simon Grima, University of Malta.
Merhaba. Let's do the way dynamic irrigation. So I will close to one piece. So thank you, Ercan, for the invitation, and thank you, Izmir, Kavram, Meslek. I don't know how to pronounce the last word. Sorry. For the invitation. Thank you, Rector, for the invitation, and Deputy Manager. Okay. Today I will be. I need the slides, I think. Yes. Welcome to the 16th International Applied Social Science Congress, CIASOS, about children, animal and nature weekend, which is more about sustainability of the livelihood, the future livelihood of the children, nature and animals. So today, what I will be doing is I will be demystifying risk and risk management and its role in ensuring sustainability and resilience. I will be looking at various aspects. Okay. Oh, wait, I'm going too far. Doesn't want to go back. Okay, I will be looking at, first of all, the taxonomy of risk. Okay, because sometimes we tend to forget or else we don't understand what risk is. Although we are risk managers by profession, there's a problem in understanding certain taxonomy. So you have to get the same taxonomy when you're doing risk management. For example, if you are talking to a cook and you tell him, look at, there's a mouse on the table, he will understand something else. But if you go into an IT department and you say there's a mouse on the table, it means a clicker. So you need to, first of all, understand what is risk before you can manage it. Okay. I will go through the sessions step by step. Okay. What is risk? Risk is actually a disruption. Okay, any disruption that happens within the world, so it's interdisciplinary. Okay, any disruption that happens, any variance from what is expected is a risk. So it can be one side or the other side. If you're expecting, for example, to win a lottery of 1,000 euros and you win 1,500, okay, it's a good thing. But if you win 1,500, then there's a variance from what you're expecting from the norm. Anything that's a variance from the norm, even if it is less than what you're expecting, it is a risk. Okay, so I'm mixing up this thing. So does this happen to us? Are there disruptions that happen to us? Should we be worried about these disruptions? Should we worry about them? Are there the opportunities? Should we continue life with them? How can we determine the size of these disruptions? Okay, I will be trying to go through these ideas. So, as I already showed you, over the years, technology has changed our life totally. When I was born, I mean, we didn't have that much technology. I remember also working in institutions without even having a calculator. We used to, doing bookkeeping and accounting. I'm an accountant by profession also, apart from risk management. And we used to do accounting with not electronic machines, with our just counting, adding the numbers. Sometimes we even knew how to, without even thinking, we just calculated within minutes a lot of numbers because we knew how to, how to process numbers even faster. Today, as we go along, people, even my mother, is using Facebook. And everybody, we're going out to places, we want to order a meal, we just press a button, we get, I don't know what you have here, but we have Bolt, Wolt, anything. You want to buy something, Amazon, and you get it. And you expect it tomorrow. Okay? So it's changed. We have to do something. We have to change. We have to do something different. That is a risk because it's making you get up and do something. COVID-19 changed the world we live in. Today, you've got hybrid. We're seeing it even today. We're talking on, you're hearing keynote speakers online and others, physically, like we are today. Personally, I prefer physically, but
hybrid also works in certain situations. Monkeypox. We're looking at a new virus. Okay? War. We know the war in Ukraine and Russia. It's creating a change for us, change in the way we eat, change in the way we use electricity. Corruption, political, non-political corruption, it changes everything. Regulations. Regulations are there to change culture, to try and change the way we do things, to try and make you standardize things. But over-regulation can be bad also. It can lead to other things. You got earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, landslides, dust storms, tornadoes, blizzards, and natural things that happen. We need to know that they exist so that we can address them. If you don't know they exist or you don't accept them as existing, you wouldn't be able to manage them. A flood in Venice, not so far away from my home, and not even far away from your homes. I actually was there when it happened. A few years ago, Vajont Dam in Italy, it burst for improper construction of the dam. A bridge in Genoa a few years ago, okay? Maintenance problems. They built the bridge, but maintenance was lacking. This is a house actually in Malta. A person died there. She was in the kitchen. Somebody was building on the site. It made people aware that in architecture, you need to have risk management also. You need to manage the risks before they happen, because the architect is reactive. Most of our professions are reactive. Accountants are reactive. So we need people who have to be proactive. Car crashes. We get accidents regularly. We need to address these. Some people don't realize that this can happen. These happen to us. This is something near home. Malta, flooded. And the cars drowned, people died also. A car crash, a truck hit a bridge in Malta and blocked the whole island. We realized that if we have that road blocked, the whole island will be blocked. So we needed to do something about it. So if you have an accident, but Malta is 21 kilometers by 36 kilometers, so it's really small. And I was blocked for about a day and a half in university. I had to work overtime, but because we couldn't move, the cars just blocked the whole road. A paint factory burnt, and fumes were coming out for days. There was no risk management. There was no way of stopping it. It just kept on burning and emitting fumes. I was next door here. This is not a chemical factory, it's a detergent factory. It kept on burning for 3 days. I happened to be next door because next door there was a finance company which I was working with. I was consulting at the time. I didn't realize. I came out and I was saying, oh, okay, I took my bag, the alarms went off, but we went, calmly. I put my laptop in and I said, oh, this is a fire alarm. Nobody was taking them seriously, these things. Here also, a tourist dies in a hotel, another paint factory. So it happens everywhere. Okay, this is just in a small island, let alone in larger countries. The risk industry, sorry. Oh, I'm going backwards, forwards. The risk industry and the professionals within it have changed drastically over the last 3 years. It has become, the profession of risk management has become interdisciplinary, and the need, maybe because of technology, the need has become much more, a much bigger request. And now they expect a lot from risk managers. It's not just, just identifying the risks, but you need to predict them. You need to be proactive. You need to identify them before they happen. Okay, how do you do that? With this in mind, what skills and competence are now necessary for a risk professional? Risk professionals need to have a culture of risk management. They need to understand many things. And most of the skills are simple. They're just common sense. Commitment to continuing learning. We need to continue learning. That's why I am also an academic, because you try to continue researching the researches that you have. You learn and you teach. You go back to the drawing board. You try and understand what went wrong or what went right, and you communicate it. We need to be environmental awareness. We need to have environmental awareness. Environment doesn't mean external trees, but it means everybody internally. Politics, internal politics, external politics, the country, other countries. What hits you? What hits your objective? Influence. You need to be able to influence people. Okay? You need to be able to get buy-ins from people. You don't just, just learn yourself and that's all, and expect other people to, buy in immediately. You need to be able to collaborate. Okay? You need to think strategically. You need to think strategically with integrity and responsibility. Okay? This is something that, unfortunately, in many universities we teach. For example, we have BSc in maths, BSc in psychology, BSc in whatever, in insurance and risk management, but we don't teach integrity and responsibility. Many times we get students, all they care about is, what am I going to get as a fee, as a payment? How am I going to gain more money? Having integrity and responsibility ensures this. So, let us start with some definitions of risk, okay? Usually when we think about risk, especially in insurance, it's the downside. Yes, but risk managers, insurance people, they ask for a premium. So when they ask for a premium, they're measuring the risk, your risk, not their risk. But for them, it's an opportunity to make money because they're understanding the risk. So it's not only downside, although they say it's a downside. Others, even depending on the context, are more expensive and consider all variabilities as risks. Example, engineers take it as the probability of an event, even medical people take it as a probability of event occurring that is viewed as undesirable and an assessment of the expected harm from the event occurring. However, it's an opportunity also because they're going in to do something. Although they're defining it like that, okay, they are not looking for that. They are looking for something that they expect. Sometimes they get more than they expect. So they're taking a risk. The risk is the variance from the norm. I don't know where I have to point. Where do I point? Okay. So, in fact, the word risk itself is derived from the ancient Arabic word now. Okay? Risk, and used till today in Maltese language, in my language. Okay? Translated to mean prosperity granted by God. In Arabic, it would be Allah. In Maltese, it would be Allah. To a person, and this is also cited in one of my papers. However, during the Renaissance in Europe, this was given the meaning of an uncertainty, loss, or dangers. So that's where it changed personality. But in Malta, we still say, when we say good luck, we say risk. That means good luck, granted by God. Okay, go for your opportunities. Okay. The Chinese symbol also captures this. The Chinese symbol captures a danger and opportunity. Okay, that's the symbol that there is. Yes, I like this book because even in Italian, we say rischiare. In Italian, we say rischiare, and this book by Bernstein, it's a fun book, on describing risk. What it says is riskare, it shows that risk is therefore a choice, not fate, okay? It doesn't happen by fate. And the actions we dare to take, which depend on how free we are to make choices, are what the story of risk is all about. And that story helps define what it means to be a human being. So if you're human, you need to take risks. If you want to get somewhere, you need to take a risk. Risks also mainly depends on perception, culture, beliefs, and the environment, okay? The laws that you're living in. For example, here's a photograph of 11 men eating lunch, seated on a girder with their feet dangling 840 meters above the New York street. If you do that today, 99%, everybody will be arrested, okay? Why? Because the regulations changed. They created something new. At that time, this didn't bother them, okay? It was something showing, oh, I'm a man, I can be up there and show my strength. I wouldn't sit down there, not even one floor up. Again, you've got another risk perception. A person is reading, our town hasn't had a murder since 1957. The optimist would say, we're safe forever. The pessimist would say, oh, we're due, okay? What field would you be in? So you've got your biases. When you're doing something, everybody's got their biases and thoughts and things. So you need to cater for them. Risk perception, again, here, they're perceiving, these two people are perceiving a boulder at the top of a hill. They're deciding, they're assessing, they're measuring what can happen. And then they decide to manage, so they leave running. So, according to Holton, now, 2 ingredients are needed for risks to exist, okay? So when we define risk, it's not because the regulator tells us in financial services, for example, the regulator tells us, you need to define this, market risk. Yes, but if I don't have market risk, why should I define it? I should say, okay, market risk, I don't have any use of it. So to exist, it has to be uncertainty about potential outcomes. So we have to be uncertain about what happens. You have to have the 2 ingredients, okay? The other one is, I don't know where to turn. Outcomes have to matter in terms of providing utility to you or the business or the organization you're working in. Now, there's an example of this man. Oh, wait. The other way around. This man jumping off a plane without a parachute in midair, okay? There's nothing uncertain about it because obviously he's going to die. So one is breached of those 2 ingredients. The second one, I don't know who he is, I don't care. If I knew who he was, it's one thing, but I don't know who he is, so I don't care. So this is not a risk. If anybody tells me, when I do it when I ask the question, is this a risk? People tell me, yes, it's a risk, he's going to die. Yes, it's not uncertain because he told me he's going to die. But let's take this now, for example. You've got a vase with 3 different colors, okay? And you're not seeing what there is inside. And I ask somebody, put his hand in and pull one of those marbles out, okay? So there are 2 ingredients. Is it uncertain? Yes, it's uncertain what color you're going to bring. But does it matter to you? No. So there's no risk. But if I say, look, if you pull out the green one, I'll give you 1 million euros or Turkish lira, whatever you want, then you are giving it value. So it's adding value and it's uncertain because you can pick up another ball. So when you're giving it value, it matters to you, okay? And when it's uncertain, it has the 2 ingredients, then it is a risk. So this is the first definition that you need to do whenever somebody tells you, look, determine the risks of your company or your organization. In a nutshell, Risk is an uncertainty that matters because it can affect one or more objectives. Okay? A risk is an uncertainty which, if it occurs, would have a positive opportunity or a negative effect, threat, on the achievement of one or more objectives. Again, I have done a paper in 2020 with a student of mine where we studied, we went to all the risk managers that we knew, okay? And we got 466 valid responses of what they understand by risk. We gathered them up in 13. These are risk managers, okay? Or they call themselves risk management and professional risk managers with a number of years experience. And we also, we captured them into 13 different definitions that they proposed, not that I proposed, okay? And as you see, risk is uncertainty that matters your objective. It's in the 8th place. We use Friedman test to calculate, to rank them, to rank their responses. And these are professionals who have been in the industry for more than 5 years. Most of them have been in the industry even for 20 years. So you see, these are European risk managers, by the way, okay? And when I tested it also on US risk managers, okay, we got the same result, even worse than this. So, and we can generalize because we've got 466 valid responses, and you can see you're dealing with people in risk management, okay, who are seeing this, okay, I have to be fast, who are risk managers who don't even know how to define risk, let alone they are trying to sustain our economy. Risk exposure arises from any type of activity to reach objectives. There is a need for effective management to manage these risks, the potential damage, danger, or losses, and to ensure continuity. So let me skip this. Yes, this is the, in 2020, there was this risk map showing the interconnections between all the different types of risks that we are facing. I've added some more. I didn't find the map of 2022, but I've added some more which are going to be in the map of 2022. Economic risks, environmental risks, geopolitical risks, pandemic risks, societal risks, which is the main one, technology risks, as it's always going to continue. Let me skip this. Yes, the ultimate aim of any country and organization is sustainability. And that is the ultimate aim of risk management, okay? Put simple, determine ways to maintain natural systems functional, remain diverse, produce everything it needs for the ecology to remain in balance, by acknowledging that human civilization takes resources to sustain our modern way of life. What, in other words, it means that we have to balance, we have to ensure a balance between environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, and social sustainability. When we mean social, okay, today we're going to have regulations in 2024 in the financial services on ESG, which is social, governance, and environment. And when we mean social, we mean regional social needs, not my social needs, okay? Because sometimes when they put measurements to it, they put what they think is the social needs, their social needs. Come on. You have to keep time for this. I cannot. Pardon? Next one. Okay, people, profits, and planet. It's not working. Next slide. Okay, there are forms of risk knowledge and non-knowledge. There are 3 forms of knowledge of risk knowledge, which are known, unknown, and unknowable. So unknown risks are most commonly encountered situations, but it's extent and full implications remain unclear due to the lack of judgment. But we went far now. But it doesn't matter. My goodness. I'm skip this. I don't know where to press. No, this is the bottom line. An organization must clearly define its objectives, determine how it will address uncertainty, and stay within boundaries while growing, protecting value. The successful outcome of this is principled performance. This I took it from Open Compliance and Ethics Group.org, which is a group talking about compliance and governance and risk also. I need to. Which means provable achievement of objectives with responsibility and integrity. Responsibility and integrity. I'm putting it there because that is the most important thing apart from the culture. We can skip this. Okay, when I tell you what risk is, if you want to see it mathematically, you've got a normal distribution, okay? Any variance from the mean. So the mean is what we normally expect, what we are expecting. Any variance, left or right, is a risk, okay? And we can calculate that but to 99.99% accuracy, which we call value at risk, okay? Which we can also do with, it's similar to Garsh, for those who are mathematical, volatility. Then you remain with about 0.001% in the tails. Yes, those tails, okay. However, although we calculate the risk, and the regulators of financial services are happy with that, they tell you calculate the value at risk and give me the value at risk. So they're happy. Some firms do it, but it's like wearing a seatbelt in a car, closing your eyes and driving. You tend to crash, or in Malta, you'll finish up in the sea if you don't kill somebody before. That tail, okay, which is the unknown risk, can be calculated also. You can use what is called CVAR, or you can use tail loss, or you can also call it, I think, CVAR, tail loss, and can you turn the slide, please? And expected shortfall. I forgot the name. What you have to be careful of is when you say you calculate value at risk to 99.99%, you say, okay, that 1% is nothing. 0.05 is nothing. But that 0.005 can be larger than the actual amount that you put aside to calculating the 99.99%. So you have to be very careful because statistics and models have assumptions. Risk managers need to know what these assumptions are. Okay? Because if you don't know what assumptions are in your models, you cannot manage. Okay? So you can use the models, they are important to use models, but you need to see that the model fits your organization, fits your company or your needs. Here you've got an example. You know, we've got the risk, the higher risk you take, the more profits you make. Here's an example where you're getting more profits, but you've got less risk because you've got less variability from the mean. Okay? This is the same. Okay? And we can conclude because I think, can you go to the last slide? The next slide. Okay, risk. What we calculate risk minus controls that you have in place, because you have to see when you go to a business and you're checking to manage your risk, okay, you need to look at your risk, the inherent risk of that business, which can be various. They can be basically by observing, you can realize these things because you look at the people, you look at the needs of the people, you see the controls that are in place, even the culture of the people and the responsibility of certain people. Then you get the exposure, and you decide on the action to take. And the action you take, the action that you can take can be to tolerate, treat, transfer by insurance, okay, and terminate. You can go to the last slide. Go to the last slide. Thank you. Next. Go next. The last one. Okay, the one before. That's all. All I'm going to say is the one before this only. The one before. Okay, risk management is all about life. It's about culture. It's about beliefs. It's about perceptions. It's about living, okay? Ensuring sustainability, ensuring a balance between the 3 Ps: people, planet, and after that, the people, planet, and the profits. Because if you don't have the 3 together, a balance between the 3, and rebalance them every time there is a change, okay, you cannot manage your risks, okay? And these are 2 associations which I am in. I am chairing the education committee of FERMA, the Federation of European Risk Management and Public Risk Management Organization. You will find a lot of information on these sites, okay, about risk, okay? And we believe also, although this is public and this is FERMA's mostly insurance, they believe a lot in public-private partnership, because you cannot work without the public entities and without the private entities working together. Thank you, and risk.
Interpreter speaking. Çevirmen konuşuyor. Simon Grima, Profesör Doktor Simon Grima risk yönetiminden söz etti. Risk yönetiminin sürdürülebilirlik ve psikolojik dayanıklılıktaki rolünü açıkladı. Pek çok risk içeren durumlarla karşı karşıya kaldığımızı anlattı. Covid-19, maymun çiçeği virüsü, Rusya savaşı, yolsuzluklar, doğal afetler, bunlardan birkaçı. Bunların var olduğunu kabul edip aslında sürecin yönetilmesi gerekiyor. Ve bize bir sürü görseller gösterdi. Bir sel felaketi, birkaç yıl önce çöken bir köprüyü gördük örneğin, ya da düzgün mimari yapılmadığı için, düzgün planlama yapılmadığı için bir binanın çöken mutfağıyla birlikte ölen bir kişiden bahsetti. Araba kazasında hurdaya dönmüş araba imajlarını gördük ve ama hep şu inanış var insanlarda: bu bize olmaz, şirketlerde, insanlarda, kurumlarda. Hatta işte bu inanış neye sürüklediğini görebiliyoruz. Kendisinin de çalıştığı bir işbirliği yaptığı fabrikada çıkan yangın nedeniyle risk yönetimi de olmadığından, fabrikanın tamamen yandığından söz etti. Dolayısıyla risk profesyonelleri aslında ne tür özelliklere sahip olmalı? Bundan bahsetti. Öncelikle sürekli öğrenmeye kendilerini adamaları, çevre ve çevresel her konuya karşı bir farkındalık, bununla ilgili politikalara karşı bir farkındalık, diğer insanları etkileme özellikleri olması, onları harekete geçirme özelliklerinin olması gerektiğini anlattı. İşbirliği yapabilen kişiler olmalılar, stratejik düşünmeliler. Bir de hareketleri ve konuştuklarıyla bir bütünlük göstermeliler bize. Hesap verebilir ve dürüst olmaları, etik davranmaları gerekmekte. Risk için bazı tanımlamalardan söz etti aynı zamanda. Risk tanımlamalarının hep aslında olumsuz senaryolar içerdiklerini anlattı. Yani genel olarak nedir? Mesela şöyle bir tanımlamadan bahsedebiliriz. Bu olumsuza bir örnek olarak herhangi bir ürün ile arzu edilmeyen durumların ortaya çıkması olayı bir risktir. Ama aslında risk köken olarak çok olumsuz özellikleri yoktur kelime anlamında. Eski Arapçada risk örneğin rızk demektir ve Allah tarafından insana verilen iyilikler olarak belirtilir. İtalyanca'da ricevere diye geçen risk kelimesi böyle geçer. Hatta bu aynı zamanda komik bir kitaptır da. Ve daha çok bu kitapta da ve genel olarak şundan bahseder. Daha çok aslında seçimlerden kaynaklanan bir durumdur risk. Asla kader değildir hani karşılaştığımız olumsuzluklar. Risk aslında algı, kültür, inanış, çevre ile de çok ilintili bir şeydir. Örneğin bir yerde mesela 1957'den sonra bir karikatür gösterdi bize Simon Graham'a. 1957'den sonra hiç kimsenin öldürülmediğinden söz ediliyor bir gazete haberinde. Optimist hemen diyor ki sonsuza kadar güvendeyiz. Ama kötümser diyor ki sırada biz varız. Aslında bu böyle olmak zorunda değil. Risk aslında olabilecekler konusunda belirsizlikler demektir. Ve aslında her organizasyonun nihai amacı sürdürülebilirliktir. Bunun için de gerekli şey şudur. Sosyal sistemlerin işlevsel olması, çeşitli olmaya devam etmeleri, çeşitliliği sürdürmeleri, ekolojinin dengede kalması için üretmesi anlamına gelir. Çok teşekkürler. Konuşmacımız. Now, we continue to give floors to the keynote speakers. Next person is Professor Dr. Eleftherios Kassalanios, University of Piraeus, Greece. His presentation is about crowdfunding, liability, or asset.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, everything all right? And the screen slides are on the board?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. First, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation to participate in this excellent Congress. I wish to all the participants a constructive and fruitful event with remarkable scientific conclusions at the end. The article I have prepared for this conference is Crowdfunding, Equity or Debt. The reason for selecting this topic is because we are recently facing financial disturbances, starting with the financial crisis in 2008-2010, going to pandemic in 2018-2021, and now to the Russian war against Ukraine. The terms corporate concentration and globalization are broadly used in business economics today to express the rapid change which force organizations to reorganize activities and strategies in order to be more competitive in the market. Business behavior is affected from environmental changes, the climate change, sustainability as the key issue in business nowadays, the new developments in entrepreneurship, investment portfolios, and more. Financing is in the sphere of a continuous effort for business to discover new ways of financing. Therefore, if I start my presentation with the question, how many financial methods do you know to raise funds? The answer will be own capital, loans, equity, venture capital, angels capital, shares, bonds, kind of creative accounting, IPOs, shareholdings rights. Besides all this, a new method to raise funds is to convince people to contribute to your idea to be an independent president.
So sorry for interruption, but your presentation, we don't see your presentation. It's not continuous. Only first page we see now.
Yeah, I'm still on first page. I'm still on first
Okay.
page. Okay, don't worry.
Right.
I control it. So, to be an independent president, and I have a good example with Barack Obama later on, to promote a new social movement, to build a kindergarten or a children's hospital in some cases. If you are smart enough, you can do it. Crowdfunding is a new phenomenon in business world. The term crowdfunding derives from the word crowd, it means people, and funding means financing, indicating the practice of funding funds through the crowd. That means the people. That is modality of microfinance from below that makes use of the help of the benefactors who choose to invest freely, inspired by the project and the proposed idea. The crucial point is to have an attractive overview on what you plan to do and to be a reliable person or entity. Through crowdfunding, investors can find people who use their joint money to support efforts of individuals and organizations. It is a bottom-up microfinance practice that mobilizes people and resources. According to the framework of the European definition on crowdfunding, the rise of crowdfunding in the last 10 years derives from the proliferation and emergence of web applications and mobile services, conditions that allow entrepreneurs, businesses, and creatives of all kinds to be able to dialogue with the ground, to get ideas, raise money, and solicit implicit on the product or service they intend to propose. Crowdfunding is an important source of funding each year for around 500,000 European projects that would otherwise never receive the funds to see the light. In 2013, funds amounting to around 1 billion euros were raised in Europe. Exponential increases are estimated in the near future, trillions by 2025, thanks to crowdfunding, which founds all the elements to be able to best unleash as potential in Web 2. The question to be answered is this kind of financing an equity or a debt? The development of Web 2.0 technologies in the past decade has enabled the evolution of new and innovative business models in which the digital user plays an increasingly important role by changing the way goods are being used and consumed. The digital user is no longer located at the end of the value chain. The user is an integral part of it, a co-decision maker. In this content, crowdsourcing is a striking example. It describes the outsourcing of various tasks to be undefined group of people using information technologies. It helps companies to develop new ideas and innovations by including customers' needs and requests in an innovative process. Crowdsourcing approaches often aim to benefit from the wisdom of a ground and from collective intelligence. One of the main crowdfunding forms, besides ground voting and ground creation, is crowdfunding. It can be defined as an open call, mostly through the internet, for the provision of financial resources by a group of individuals instead of professional parties, either in form of donations in exchange of a future product or in exchange of some form of reward. Using a proverb, crowdfunding can be described as a little makes a miracle, meaning that a large amount of money can be raised by accumulated small contributions from a large number of people. Therefore, using internet platforms as intermediaries between individuals, startups, or companies on the other hand, and potential backers on the other, the process of fundraising is sourced out to the ground. Being referred to as an innovative method of funding, the basic idea of ground funding is not a new phenomenon. A frequently cited example of early ground funding is the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty. In 1885, Joseph Pulitzer, at that time publisher of the New York newspaper World, asked the citizens of New York for a financial contribution to the pedestal of the statue. In return, he offered to print the name of each backer in his newspaper. After 5 months, the World announced that the donation campaign has reached $102,000 US. Remarkable, the funds of New Yorker who donated less than $1 made up for 80% of the ground. More recent examples include the 2008 election campaign of US President-elected Barack Obama. Obama's team managed to raise $750 million USD by ground funding. About half of the overall donation sum was raised by contributions under $200. Up to date, various ventures, startups, and individuals have already applied the method of ground funding. And there are some other examples as well, showing that ground funding is a good way to raise money. Based on the introductory remarks, ground funding is an alternative way to invest. I will say is a new method to raise funds under certain conditions, most important of which are reliability, ethos, commitment, innovative behavior, confidence, recognition, and perfect public relations. The key elements that capture the essence of ground funding are the ground, the financing, the alternative finance, the models used, the purpose of the idea, and the outline behind the plan you try to execute. People involved in ground funding are angels or speculators. It depends on what they have asked for. Some of them, the angels, don't ask for a reward. They are satisfied when the idea behind the ground funding is getting real. For example, the Obama case. Some others look for the reward in terms of money refund or shares option. The emergence of web applications and mobile services have boosted this kind of fundraising in many cases around the world. Several definitions have been used in the literature to describe the term ground funding as it is shown in this slide. Some authors have identified 3 types of ground funding: the hedonism, the altruism, and ground funding for profit. Therefore, lenders are offered monetary returns, such as interest or profit shares, the value should go one, okay, two more. Hinduism, tourism, okay. So the ground funding principle in this slide, where the project is, where the platform use, and then the capital givers. Who are the participants? Who are the participants? The participants are of three kinds: project promoters seeking funding for their project, supporters who are willing to support a specific project, and matchmaking crowdfunding platforms which act as intermediaries. Each type of stakeholders shows differentiating characteristics which must be considered when trying to describe the basic principles of crowdfunding. Based on these basic principles, three crowdfunding archetypes can be derived. Most frequently, project promoters and financiers are private individuals. Most crowdfunding shareholder research relate to lenders. Studies found that lenders' investment decisions are influenced by social networks, herding, and free-riding behavior. Supporters also differ in motivation for participation. In the context of crowdfunding, supporters observe and are aware of the decisions of other lenders and are influenced for their behavior. Finally, families and friends are often important groups of supporters in crowdfunding projects. Now, what is the model behind crowdfunding? What is the structure of the model? Well, actually, this is a game structure based on several equations. What is the problem of entrepreneurs? The problem is to satisfy their need to maximize profits. What is the investment opportunities? We need here to entrepreneurs offer investors three types of investment opportunities: donations, passive investments, and active investments. And the investors select anyone it refers to their needs. What is the investor's problem? Well, the investor's problem is to maximize utility by deciding between four possible actions for each of the active ones. The potential shares an active investor are to donate, passively invest, actively invest, and wait or do nothing until the time comes when the plan is executing or when the project is completed. So, what are the conclusions based on the theory I just presented? Crowdfunding is disrupting the traditional method of gathering funds, in some cases, destabilizing the capital markets. The origins of crowdfunding platforms were the formation of projects in the social sector with a non-profit objective. Crowdfunding has a variety of advantages. It can finance new or existing businesses and can be used for marketing as well. It can also be a sign of a market test. How sensitive is the market in new initiatives? How businesses incorporate with debt or equity? How do they absorb this type of financing? Grant funding is a form of entrepreneurial financing and hence can be considered as entrepreneurial act in and of itself. It complements current financial mechanisms such as banks, credit institutes, angel investors, and so provides a fresh approach for businesses to access financial assets. The new phenomenon is likely to benefit sustainable businesses, in particular, who frequently encounter financial challenges. And the grant funding scheme is currently characterized by high dynamics. A growing number of projects from different applications fields are experimenting with the grant funding option. Of grant funding platforms is growing rapidly, and they experiment with several new business models. Grant funding deserves to be promoted and supported, being one of the tools capable of mobilizing private capital in the early stages. And it is no longer a minor issue that belongs exclusively to the creative savers. Deserves more attention, both in politics, in science, and in businesses. Thank you very much for your attention. I had asked to finish it in 20 minutes, so I made it in 20 minutes. Any question, please?
Any question?
Dear listeners, I think there is no any question. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wish you
Thank you.
all the
Bye-bye.
best. Thank you. Bye.
Now, Professor Dr. Larissa Mistrin from ASEM Moldova will talk about research on the financial education level of the banking consumers in the Republic of Moldova. Before that, I want to summarize Professor Dr. Eletrios Tasarinos speaking into Turkish. Profesör aslında bize kitlesel fon edinmeden bahsetti. Kitlesel fon edinme iş dünyasında çok yeni bir olgu. Kitlesel fon edinme ya da edindirme terimi aslında insanlar anlamına gelen crowd ve finansman kelimelerini birleştiren, insanlar aracılığıyla fon edinme pratiğini gösteren finansman kelimelerini belirtir ve böyle aşağıdan yukarıya mikro finans yöntemiyle birleştirilmesinden türetilir. Projeden ve önerilen fikirlerden ilham alınarak özgürce yatırım yapmayı tercih eden, bağış yapan hayırseverlerin yardımından yararlanılır. Önemli olan yapmayı planladığınız şeye dair ilgi çekici bir iş planına, bakış açısına sahip olmak ve güvenilir bir kuruluş ve kişi olmaktır. Kitle fonlaması yoluyla yatırımcılar ortak paralarını bireylerin ve kuruluşların çabalarını desteklemek için kullanan kişilere fon sağlayabilirler. İnsanları ve kaynakları harekete geçiren aşağıdan yukarıya bir mikrofinans uygulamasıdır. Avrupa kitle fonlaması, kitle fon edindirme çerçevesine göre son 10 yılda kitle fonlamasının yükselişi, web uygulamalarının ve mobil hizmetlerinin yaygınlaşması ve ortaya çıkmasından girişimcilerin, işletmelerin ve her türden üreticinin fikir almak, para toplamak, önermeyi düşündükleri mal ve hizmetler hakkında girdi talep etmek için dünya ile diyalog kurabilmesine olanak tanıyan koşullardan kaynaklanmaktadır. Sonuç olarak kitlesel fon edinme, geleneksel fon edinme yöntemlerini kökünden değiştiren, hatta bazen para piyasalarının o stabil, düzenli durumunu bozucu bir etkiye de sahip olabilen bir yöntemdir. Bugün aslında pek çok proje, büyüyen proje bu kitlesel fon edindirme yönteminin bir sonucu olarak ortaya çıkmıştır. I invite Professor Dr. Larissa Mistrayan from Assam, Moldova, to talk about research on the financial education level of the banking consumers in the Republic of Moldova. Professor Mistrayan. I think there is some problem about connections, so we want to introduce Dr. Paolo Mansalmi, University of Rome, Tor, Vergata, Italy, to talk about conceptual models in legislation, public law, and Bavarian public administration as a behavioral hypothesis.
Good morning.
Morning.
Conceptual models in legislation, public law, and Bavarian public administration. My subject is public administration. And let us start with this citation from Alan Greenspan on the eve of the global financial crisis. Greenspan said, he had been chair of the Federal Reserve in the 90s. I made a mistake in presuming that the self-interests of organizations, specifically banks and others, were such that they were best capable of protecting their own shareholders and their equity in the firms. If we move to our analysis of conceptual models in legislation, conceptual models are unrecognized assumptions, and political science has long explored the influence of unrecognized assumptions upon our thinking about events. However, explication of conceptual models appears to have been confined to foreign policy. In fact, a key research on the subject is due to Allison and Zelikow. They reveal the existence of implicit hypotheses in explaining foreign policy and explore the relevance and empirical value of three alternative hypotheses. They did this using as a case study the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. And these are the three propositions of their work. Professional analysts of foreign affairs and policymakers, as well as ordinary citizens, think about problems of foreign and military policy in terms of largely implicit conceptual models that have significant consequences on the content of their thought. Most analysts explain and predict the behavior of national governments in terms of one basic conceptual model. And in the book, this is called the rational actor model. How many times we hear it said or we read it, Putin says this, Putin says that, just like actions were made by one single person. The third proposition is that two alternative conceptual models are available. And here they are labeled an organizational behavior model, model 2, and a governmental politics model, model 3. And they provide a base for improved explanations and prediction. They're more performing. Let's dwell a little bit on these models to give us an idea, a better idea of what they're all about. Model 1, the rational actor model, responds to what has been termed the received view of Max Weber's rational legal ideal type of authority. This is the conventionally, this is what is called the Weberian public administration. Model 2 is organizational behavior model, is one in which organizational behavior is driven by standard operating procedures. Organizations' output at time t will be the same as their output at time t minus 1. So they will do tomorrow what they did yesterday, or they will do today what they did yesterday. But the precedent culture, the culture of the precedent. But such behavior may be at odds with rational objectives. The classical example, going back to the crisis, to the missile crisis, is one in which the positioning of intercontinental ballistic missiles in Cuba in 1962 should not be interpreted as implying a premeditated attack by the USSR on the USA, but it is simply the implementation of Soviet weapons deployment procedure throughout Allied countries, just matter of routine. Model 3, on the other hand, is about governmental politics, and it examines the position of individuals in relation to one another. These include relationships of power between individuals, relationships of affiliation, and historical relationships among individuals, all of which may account for their behavior just as much as their pursuit of a rational and common objective. So this is the alternatives. We realize that there is more than one way of thinking about organizations. If we now go back to our Greenspan citation, I made a mistake in presuming that the self-interests of organizations, specifically banks and others, were such that they were best capable of protecting their own shareholders and their equity in the first. What model is Alan Greenspan using here? He's aware he's making an assumption because he's presuming the self-interest of organization, the self-interest. I think we are in the rational actor model here, driven just in neoclassical economics. The organization behaves as a homo economicus. However, Greenspan introduces us to a twist in the Allison theory. He is not, the citation does not impersonate exactly the theory. Like if we go back and put this in a slow motion. Russian missiles are heading for Cuba. Organization 1, Russia's government, is acts. Organization 2, US government, is observing Organization's 1 action in the first place. Then Organization 2 thinks in trying to explain what is happening, thinks largely in terms of an implicit rational actor conceptual model. Why is he doing this? He can't do this to me. This is a famous quote from J.F. Kennedy, thinking of Nikita Khrushchev, who was on the other side. So what is the twist that we see here? In the Greenspan reasoning, Greenspan is not an observer. Are you saying something? Is everything okay? Okay.
Yes.
I move on. So Greenspan is not an observer here. He is acting as chair of the Federal Reserve, as we say, and he's making hypotheses about the addressees of his policy. So we can see that we can do some sort of reverse engineering in the Allison theory, and behavior of Organization 2 can be thought of and analyzed not only in the case of a passive observation of someone else's action, but also in the case Organization 2 performs an active prescription of someone else's action. Conceptual model is also embedded in this second case, in the active prescription. Think of a legislature. Think of Organization 2 as a legislature passing a law requiring public administration as Organization 1 to implement one specific action program in any field of government. That implies that Organization 2 is applying a conceptual model about Organization 1. And public law applies conceptual models and behavioral hypotheses when making laws that engage public administration. This is our title. This is our title. Conceptual models in legislation. Public law applies conceptual models and behavioral hypotheses when making laws that engage public administration. It's not straightforward. This is not straightforward. There is more to it than it appears when one passes a law prescribing public administration to perform any, from tax collection to police to healthcare, foreign affairs, of course. There is more to it when public administration is tasked by the legislation to do something. And public law, in fact, public law generally applies the rational actor model. Why do I say that has been termed the received view of Max Weber rational legal ideal type of authority? I call it a received view because that's not exactly what Max Weber meant. The ideal type was not a design for an ideal public administration. So this is the subtitle of our presentation: Public Law and Weberian Public Administration. The practical implications of these findings lead us to hypothesize public administration as a more complex body of organizations and jettison the idea of them behaving as a rational actor. And there is more to the Allison theory than just foreign affairs. And it tells us there is at least 3 models to think about public administration. I'll be happy to entertain any questions you may have. Maybe you want to translate.
I'm waiting for the questions, but I think there is no question.
Well, maybe someone wants to make a question in Turkish.
Is there any? Sorusu olan var mı? No? Thank you so much, Dr. Paulo Danselmi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here,
Uh,
right? Okay, please.
Sorry. Professor Dr. Larissa Mistrian, can you hear us at the moment? Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Professor Dr. Larissa Mistrian from ASEM Moldova. Floor is yours. The topic is research on the financial education level of the banking consumers in the Republic of Moldova.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, because I don't see it. I don't see it. Oh, just just a moment, please.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I don't see it, but you'll say me if I won't see the. But I'm afraid that I will lose it. Okay. Okay, I will try to follow it here on my laptop.
Остановить și mai porniți odată prezentarea.
Okay. Dear rectors, dear professors, dear guests, I am Larissa Mistrian, and I am associate professor at the Academy of Economic Studies of Moldova. And I want to present you the paper Research on the Financial Education Level of Banking Consumers in the Republic of Moldova. It's first, I can't move slides. I don't know. I will try to. Do you see my present slides or no? Do you see my presentation?
Yes.
We see your presentation, at the same time your appearance.
I can't move it. If I will send you, can you move? Wow.
You can share again.
Yes, but
Demonstrație.
I tried to share
Maybe
again.
you can press the button of the presenting, you know, and then
I-
share.
Just I wanted to change the slide and I cannot because I don't see it at
Yes,
all.
you have to put it as a presenter, the slide. You've got a box in the bottom.
Yes, and I yes.
You have to, and then you won't see yourself. If you don't have to.
Prezentare, vedeți?
economies of Europe, and in particular of the economy of Republic of Moldova, is facing with a lot of additional risks, such as war in Ukraine, the energy risk, the successive blockades in the interruption of the supply chains, a fact that highlights the needs to have information, education, and tools necessary to make correct financial decisions in the condition of establishing an increasingly complex financial system. The financial difficulties of individuals can affect national development and evolution and the market in general. The crisis demonstrates that the financial well-being of individuals is fundamental for financial stability at the national level, and the lack of financial education is one of the reasons that determine the decrease of living standards. So, studying the literature allows us to state that financial education is a crucial foundation for raising financial literacy. According to Article 5b of a Convention of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development from 1960, financial education has always been important for householders in helping them budget and manage their income, save and invest efficiently, and avoid becoming victims of fraud. Having regard to the fact of financial markets become increasingly sophisticated and householders assume more of responsibility and risk for financial decisions, especially in the field of retirement savings, financially educated individuals are necessary to ensure sufficient level of investor and assume protection as well, if not only for they themselves, but for economy as whole. According to the definition of financial education that was proposed by Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in 2005, financial education is a process in which consumers and financial investors improve their understanding on financial products, concepts, and know more information, instruction, and advice, develop skills and confidence to better understand financial risks and opportunities, make informed choices, know where to look for help, and take other effective actions to improve their being. So, the goals of financial education is to educate individuals, of course, not only household members, but the society in general, to increase their knowledge, awareness, and skill in the field of finance in order to enhance their efficiency in money management. Financial education can be divided according to international standard classification of education as formal education. It means learning at school according to curricula, which enable to a question or a full partial qualifications. Non-formal education, institutional learning according to programs that not to fall within the scope of formal education, and informal education, gaining knowledge through experience. It involves here shaping attitudes and behaviors as a result of accurate experience, the educational impact of the environment, family, friends, work environment, etc. Financial education is aimed to increasing financial knowledge and skills, rationalizing financial decisions, efficiency of personal finance management, and implementation of assumed financial and non-financial goals. It's a process that can begin at every stage of life and last a lifetime. we can say that financial education is crucial foundation for raising financial literacy. The effective financial education brings measurable benefits in micro scale for individuals, in meso scale for the financial institutions, and in micro scale for the economic as a whole. The ability of consumers to make short and long-term financial decisions in an intelligent and responsible way is more crucial than ever. Financial education that effectively supports this capability has potential benefits for multiple stakeholders. For consumers, there is a real evidence that directly correlates the financial literacy and financial well-being. More planning, more appropriate use of credit, use of effective saving tools leads to successful financial well-being and, respectively, overall better long-term well-being. For the financial market, more active participation and better informed consumers will increase the demand for financial products and services, raise their level of competitiveness, promote market transparency, and increase its efficiency. Policy markets would benefit from high regulation and the supervisory burden of monitoring, intervention, and recovery of financial markets, as well as a successful environment for reforms. For the economy as a whole, more financially secure households with higher savings rates, which will contribute to better functioning markets, economic development, and ensuring economic stability. So, for more details picture of the degree of financial education, respectively financial literacy in the Republic of Moldova, we researched the opinion of consumers of financial and banking services by means of a questionnaire. The questionnaire included two categories of questions that refer to the profile of respondents and that refer to the consumer perception of financial banking products and services. The service was conducted nationally through online interaction between January and February month in 2022 and was intended for consumers of banking products and services. The profile of the respondents is determined by the following characteristics: age, gender, place of residence or place, education, occupation, and monthly income. 522 respondents participated in this service, and among them 44.6% present bank clients who are up to 30 years old, about 37% bank customers aged between 30 and 40 years old, 11% between 41 and 50 years old, about 7% customer between 50 and 64 years old, and only less than 1% customer over 64 years old. If to say about gender, 68% of respondents are women and only less than 32 are men. 83% are bank customers who live in the cities, and only about 70% live in villages. 92% represent the consumers of financial banking services who work in the cities, and only 7% of consumers who, of course, participate in this questionnaire work in the villages. 5% of respondents have secondary education, 8% clients have professional studies, about 53% have bachelor degree, about 30% have master degree, and less than 4% have doctoral studies. 30% of respondents are people or students. More than 73% of customers are full-time employees, and 5% are part-time employees. 3% respondents are self-employed. 0.8% are pensioners. 2.8% are clients that are not employed, and only 1% and 1.7% have work experience abroad. And if you talk about the monthly income, the most 43% of respondents have income between 5 and 10,000 lei. 25% customers have average income of from 10 to 20. That it means about 1,000 euro, and 9% customers have average between 20 and 50,000 lei, and 1.4% have average higher than 50,000 lei. It means about 2,500 euro per month. So if to talk about their knowledge about banking products and services, they should to respond to some questions. Unfortunately, you cannot see all these tables and figures. So they had to answer the question level of knowledge of banking products, such like deposits, loans or credits, cards, and bank transfer. To which of them they should to answer. I do not have sufficient knowledge. I know only the essence of the product. I know the characteristic of this product. I know the operation and technique of this product, and I am a specialist in the financial banking system. The results showed that the answers for deposits and the credit are more or less similar. Regarding the level of knowledge of deposits, about 50% of deponents are specialists in the financial banking system of Republic of Moldova. 18% know the operation and technique of bank deposits. About 40% know the characteristic of these products. 19% only know the essence of this product, and 9% do not have sufficient knowledge. About knowledge about the credit, it's difference 1 or 2% from the knowledge about the deposits, but the knowledge about cards, it's different, because 24% know the operation and technique, and 40% of respondents know the characteristic, and only 4% of the consumers do not have sufficient knowledge about the transfer, bank transfer. So the share of respondents who only know the product's characteristic is approximately the same for all the products. The difference is, however, the number of consumers who know the operation and techniques, the products from 18 to 17%, and 32% for cards banking. And respectively, the share of respondents who do not have sufficient knowledge about the four products value from 9% to 1% in case of bank cards. The degree of financial education is strongly influenced by the level of education. More specifically, the more educated people have a higher financial literacy. For example, 6% of people with bachelor's degree do not have enough knowledge about deposit, only 6%. But 33% of people with general education do not have enough knowledge about this product. And also age plays an important role in the level of financial education. We can observe that young people have a higher degree of financial education compared to older people. For example, 8% of people under the 50 age answered they do not have enough knowledge about deposit, and 19% only know the essence of a product, but in case of people over 50 years old, 22% don't know enough knowledge about this product.
Dear Professor, I'm sorry. Is it possible to summarize in 5 minutes?
Yes.
Please.
In our opinion, there are two main reasons behind results. First of all, the increase is the complexity of financial products, but also the higher level of digitalization in this sector allow easier access to young people. Secondly, the low level of income of people over 60 greatly reduce the categories access to concept information as well as financial products. And okay, I will. We analyzed the rates of propensity to save and the rates of propensity to spend. And the results are 4% of respondents do not save at all. About 8% save just a bit, and 23% the consumers of banking products have a major tendency towards saving. And in the same time, 20% of respondents do not spend at all, and 20% spend very less, and 5% have a maximum inclination to spend. So financial planning of expenses and income is an important pillar of financial management. The existence of a monthly personal budget with the highlighting of experience and income allows the adoption of rational financial decisions within the limit the budget and avoid the normal behavior. The application of personal financial planning support rational decision and requirement addition measure to increase awareness, and because it's important. And the most important recommendation can be: it's necessary to increase awareness of economic and financial knowledge because taking in the consideration that only about 10% of population of Republic of Moldova has financial knowledge, the educational policy instruments must pursue the objective of awareness and information of segmentation, the target group according to their specialization, starting with the administrative staff in the public institution. The second is to implement effective and technology-based instrumentation of financial education in the future, because the implementation of the action plan and measures educational programs carried out school through entertainment and games, training session for the teacher and other actors, educational programs for adults, awareness campaign, etc., must be based on action to facilitate access to information such as branding or social media. The second is to increase the level of trust of a population in financial institutions. Identification of target group of the population and the level of enterprises with national capital, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, to participate in potential training session to improve the level of financial knowledge regarding the available products, the facility resulting from their purchasing, as well being as problem they need, and development of project aimed at increasing the level of knowledge regarding to the diversity of financial instruments available, including saving, investing, lending, could lead to better management of individuals' budget and capitalization of enterprises. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Professor Larissa Mistrian. Hocam çok kısa olursa sevinirim.
Yani şey yok,
Hayır, özet çok kısa sevinirim.
yok hocam, özet sunmayacağım şu an. Keynote speech is ended now. We will continue keynote. We will continue International Congress at 1 o'clock.